I'm Vickie Deppie, and we're here with Senator from Nebraska, Steve Halloran, sponsor of the Convention of States Project application for an Article V convention to limit the scope and jurisdiction of the federal government and establish spending controls and term limits on its officials. Senator, thank you for being with us and congratulations on getting the application passed.
Well, thanks, Vickie, for having me. And it's the congratulations don't belong to just me. We had a great grassroots effort here in Nebraska that helped get us across the finish line. So,
yes, that's important. So please tell us about your Article V journey. How did you first learn about Article V and the power that the state legislators have to amend the Constitution?
well, I hate to admit it, but prior to becoming a state legislator, I was naive and ignorant about Article V. But as a freshman senator in 2017, previous Senator Laura Deppie paved the way. She was offering a resolution for an Article V Convention of States, and she retired from being a legislator and handed that over to me. So it's been a 6-7 year journey. 5 of those years that I've been carrying it, and so we finally got across the finish line. We're pretty excited about that.
That's wonderful. So there are a few different applications for limited subject conventions making their way through state legislatures across the country right now. And how did you reach the decision that the Convention of States Projects application is the one you wanted to champion?
Well, there are a lot of good efforts out there being proposed for an Article V, and I looked at the COS effort, and I thought the 3 subject matters were pertinent, and I thought as long as we're calling them for a convention of states, what could it hurt to deal with those 3 issues? Fiscal restraint, limiting the scope and authority of the federal government, and term limits. So I thought, it takes a lot of effort to get there. Let's make as much use of our success calling for a convention and deal with all 3 of those issues for proposing amendments.
Great. And what amendment do you most hope will come out of this convention when it occurs?
Well, I hope an amendment comes out on all 3 subjects. Gets to be a question of a chicken and the egg, really. We have a terrible federal debt. It passed the $30 trillion mark, and how did that come to be? Well, it came to be because I believe we have too many career politicians. So one could argue that is the amendment that should be proposed that probably will be most impactful for the future, getting away from career politicians and back to a citizens' Congress.
Good. And I realize that the Nebraska Unicameral is officially a nonpartisan body, but Ballotpedia has sorted you by party affiliation. And based on their data, it looks like you had bipartisan support in both overcoming the filibuster and getting the measure passed. Unfortunately, that's atypical in the Article V world. How did you build that coalition?
Well, I can't say I single-handedly built it. It was, as I mentioned before, a grassroots effort. A lot of people, I stood on the shoulders of a lot of people that worked with their senators and lobbied for this. And so it was a bipartisan effort. We had a super majority vote for it after hours and hours of filibuster. And you don't want to get me started on the filibuster rule, but that's what we have, and that's okay. But I was very pleased that we had supporters from both sides of the aisle on this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's so important because ratification is going to definitely require bipartisan support. So getting it now is really key.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice or encouragement for your counterparts in other states?
We just get excited about it. It's to me, proposing an Article V Convention of States is just simply respecting the Constitution, and that's and why I say that is we have a 10th Amendment that very clearly and precisely says that what authority isn't granted to the federal government is granted to the states. if not otherwise outlawed by the Constitution. Going back prior to that, Article I, Section 8 enumerates the power and authority of the federal government, right? Well, we've clearly seen that the scope of the federal government has gone beyond what their enumerated powers are. So to me, it's a sovereignty of the states issue as much as anything. I believe states are starting to recognize that they're being hand-tied by the federal government in doing what they could do more effectively, more efficiently at the state level. So I would just encourage states to get on board, recognizing that it's in full respect of the Constitution as it sits, that Article V is just simply a tool to get us back to what the founders intended to begin with.
Great. And is there anything you hoped that I would ask that I haven't yet?
Well, that's the toughest question I've had on this yet. No, not really. I think and this wouldn't be in the form of a question from you, but I think the current Congress and the current administration are taking actions now that the public and then consequently the state legislators are starting to recognize as overreach on the part of the federal government. And it's an opportunity for all of us to just simply say, let's pull back here a little bit. Let's propose amendments and let's see if the states will ratify them.
Well, the polling supports your conclusion. So I hope we get to 34 in the very near term. Well, Senator, I know it's a busy time of year for you, so thank you so much for your time. And again, congratulations on leading Nebraska to become the 17th state to pass the Convention of States Project application.
Well, thank you so much. And my motto is never give up.
Excellent advice. Thank you.
All right, thanks.